In a world where everyone shouts, movies are art and books are for those who are afraid of special effects, you open another book and 10 pages in, you're already crying over someone else's fate, while your friends argue over whose explosion in the latest blockbuster was louder. And here's the question no one asks out loud. Why does your brain reject a ready-made visual feast and demand that you bake it yourself out of words? It all starts with how differently the brain processes ready-made images and imagined worlds. When you watch a movie, the visual cortex receives a finished product. The actor has already started crying. The camera has already shown trembling lips. The music has already hit all the right empathy buttons. It's effective, fast, and powerful. But that's exactly why, for some nervous systems, it's too much and too ready-made. Highly sensitive people, whose brains function like hypersensitive microphones, often feel overwhelmed by this flood of stimuli. The actor's emotions, the editing, the lighting, the sound, it all hits the mirror neurons at once. And instead of deep empathy, a slight nausea arises from the overload. A book, on the other hand, gives you exactly as much as you're ready to take. Not a single extra tear, not a single imposed perspective. You draw the faces yourself, choose the tone of voice yourself, and decide for yourself just how much the character is suffering. This isn't passive consumption, it's co-creation. This is where the magic of slow immersion comes in. When the brain is forced to actively construct a world from words, it engages far more areas. The visual cortex for imagination, the areas responsible for emotions and memory, even the motor zones when you visualize movement. Studies show that reading fiction triggers a longer-lasting and deeper activation of empathy and theory of mind networks than watching a screen. A movie provides a flash, powerful but brief. A book is a smoldering fire that warms you for hours. You don't just empathize with the character, you experience their thoughts from the inside, and this experience leaves a much deeper mark. While your friends get an emotional rush from a 2-hour movie and forget about it by morning, you spend 3 days under the impression of a single chapter because you filmed it yourself in your head with a director's voiceover. Neurochemistry completes the picture. Reading stimulates a more steady, sustained release of oxytocin, the very hormone associated with trust and attachment. In a movie, oxytocin often comes bundled with the adrenaline and dopamine triggered by fast-paced scenes, so the connection feels intense but superficial. In a book, however, oxytocin comes quietly, slowly, building up. As a result, you feel an almost familial tenderness toward fictional characters. These are those very same parasocial relationships, but on steroids. The characters become your inner companions for years, not just for a single viewing. And yes, sometimes you catch yourself missing people who never existed. And that's normal. It's a sign that your emotional repertoire has grown by 1,000,000. The optimal level of arousal is also on the side of books. A screen always provides a high level of external stimulation, flickering, sound, movement. For introverts and highly sensitive people, this often pushes them beyond the upper limit of their comfort zone. And instead of enjoyment, you get eye and brain fatigue. A book, on the other hand, lets you keep the excitement exactly where you like it. You can read quickly, you can read slowly, you can stop, reread a paragraph 3 times to savor every word. These are ideal conditions for entering a state of flow, where time disappears and you become completely immersed in the story. A movie rarely offers that kind of freedom. It dictates the pace, and if it doesn't suit you, your only options are to endure it or fast forward. Ultimately, preferring books to movies isn't snobbery or a fear of technology. It's simply a more precise calibration of your emotional apparatus. Your brain doesn't want emotions served up on a silver platter. It wants to grow them itself, water them, and wait for them to blossom. And when that happens, the harvest is so rich that no special effect can compare. If this resonated with you, click on the next video and share your thoughts in the comments. Are you part of the "a book is my personal movie theater without popcorn" camp? Or do you still sometimes crave the big screen with Dolby Atmos? Let's find our kindred spirits.